Have you ever wondered why some people change quietly, while others stay trapped in the same place for years? They do not announce every plan. They do not explain every decision. They do not chase attention, argue for approval, or broadcast every small step. Yet somehow, month after month, they become sharper, calmer, stronger, more focused. And then one day, the world looks at them and says, "You changed." But the truth is, they were changing long before anyone noticed. Real transformation almost never begins in public. It begins in silence. It begins in the early morning when no one is watching. It begins when you choose discipline instead of distraction, focus instead of noise, action instead of explanation. It begins when you stop trying to convince people that you are becoming better and simply become better. Stoicism understands this deeply because Stoicism is not about performance. It is about self-command. It does not ask you to look strong. It asks you to become strong where no one can see. The modern world teaches the opposite. It tells you to post, prove, react, explain, defend, and stay visible. It makes you believe that if people do not see your growth is not real. But this is one of the great traps of modern life. When you spend too much energy trying to appear disciplined, you often have less energy left to actually be disciplined. When you speak too much about who you are becoming, you may start confusing words with progress. The strongest people do not live in explanation mode. They do not need to justify every boundary, narrate every ambition, or make everyone understand their process. While others are fighting for approval, they are quietly building. While others are trapped in arguments, they are studying, training, creating, reflecting, and correcting themselves. Their silence is not emptiness. It is strategy. It is the place where their energy is protected and redirected toward what truly matters. This is why silent people often carry a certain power. You can feel it when you are near them. They are not trying to impress the room, yet their presence is steady. They are not forcing attention, yet they are difficult to ignore. They speak less, but when they speak, there is weight behind the words. That kind of presence is not created by pretending to be mysterious. It is created by focus, restraint, and inner work repeated over time. Plato once said that wise men speak because they have something to say, while fools speak because they have to say something. The lesson is not that you should never speak. The lesson is that your words should come from substance, not from insecurity. Say less when saying more would only drain your clarity. Explain less when the explanation is only a hidden request for approval. Announce less when the work itself still needs to be done. Silence is not weakness. Real silence is active. It is a space where your thoughts settle and your awareness sharpens. It is where you begin to see what the noise has been hiding from you. When you step away from constant stimulation, your mind does not become empty. It begins to reorganize. You notice your patterns. You hear the excuses you keep repeating. You confront the discomfort you normally bury under scrolling, talking, reacting, and staying busy. That is why many people avoid silence. Silence is honest. It does not let you hide from yourself. In silence, your doubt appears. Your guilt appears. Your insecurity appears. The unfinished parts of your life begin to speak. And instead of listening, most people reach for the phone, open another tab, send another message, join another argument, or look for another distraction. Anything feels easier than sitting alone with the truth. But what you avoid does not disappear. It goes deeper. It drains your focus from beneath the surface. It makes you feel tired, even when you have not done anything meaningful. It makes you feel busy, but not productive. Surrounded, but not connected. Visible, but not grounded. That is the cost of living without inner silence. Your attention becomes scattered, and a scattered mind cannot build a powerful life. Marcus Aurelius would remind us not to waste life looking constantly at what others say, do, think, or approve. The more your mind lives outside yourself, the less command you have within yourself. If your peace depends on being seen, understood, praised, or validated, then your attention belongs to the world. But if you can work quietly, improve quietly, and remain loyal to your path without applause, you begin to recover a rare kind of freedom. So ask yourself honestly, how much of your energy is being spent on proving, explaining, reacting, and comparing? How much of your day is lost to meaningless noise? How much stronger would you become if you stopped announcing your intentions and started protecting your attention? The person you want to become will not be built by noise. He will be built by silent repetition, disciplined action, and the courage to keep going even when no one claps. This is where the Stoic path begins. Say less, focus more, and let your life become the evidence. In the next part, we will go deeper into why silence is not just a habit, but the doorway to clarity, the place where you finally begin to see yourself without the noise of the world. Silence is powerful because it gives your mind room to see clearly again. Most people think silence is just the absence of talking, but real silence is not empty. It is active. It is where the mind stops reacting long enough to observe. It is where your energy gathers instead of leaking into arguments, comparison, explanations, and distractions that do not move your life forward. When you step away from the noise, your brain does not shut down. It begins to reset. The thoughts that were buried under constant stimulation rise to the surface. You begin to notice what has been controlling you, the need to be approved, the fear of being misunderstood, the old wounds you keep avoiding, the excuses you repeat until they sound like truth. This is why silence feels uncomfortable at first. It forces you to meet yourself without the mask of busyness. Carl Jung said that whoever looks outside dreams, but whoever looks inside awakens. That is exactly what silence does. It wakes you up to your own patterns. You start seeing where you have been wasting attention, where you have been reacting instead of choosing, where you have been chasing visibility instead of mastery. And once you see these things clearly, you can no longer pretend that distraction is harmless. Attention is not a small thing. Attention is energy. Every message you answer without purpose, every useless argument you enter, every headline that steals your peace, every scroll that turns into an hour, all of it spends mental energy you could have used to build something real. The mind cannot create a powerful life while it is being pulled in 1,000 directions. A scattered mind produces scattered results. This is where Stoicism becomes practical. Control is not about controlling other people. It is not about suppressing emotion or acting cold. True control is self-mastery. It is the ability to choose not to react, not to explain, not to chase, not to prove, when your ego is begging you to do the opposite. Aristotle said that what lies in our power to do also lies in our power not to do. Sometimes strength is not the action you take, but the reaction you refuse. Your identity is shaped by what you repeatedly do, not by what you say you will do. You can tell people you are disciplined, focused, serious, and ready to change, but your habits will always reveal the truth. If you wake up early, train your body, read, work, and resist distraction, your mind begins to believe a new identity. You are not just acting differently. You are becoming someone different through repeated action. This is why announcing too much too early can weaken discipline. When you tell everyone your goals before you have built the system, you may receive a small emotional reward without earning real progress. It feels good to say, I am changing, but that feeling can become a substitute for actually changing. The Stoic does not need applause at the beginning. He knows the beginning is sacred because it is fragile. It must be protected, not performed. Say less, do more. Let your actions build the story. Let silence become the place where your new identity is forged. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work when no one is checking. Choose the book instead of the scroll. Choose the workout instead of the excuse. Choose a difficult task instead of another empty promise. These quiet repetitions are not dramatic, but they are powerful. Real motivation does not come from being praised. It comes from seeing yourself keep your word. Every time you finish the work you promised yourself, your self-respect grows. Every time you resist distraction, your focus strengthens. Every time you choose discipline in silence, you prove to your own mind that you can be trusted. That private proof becomes stronger than public approval. So protect your silence. Protect your attention. Stop spending your best energy trying to convince people that you are becoming better. Become better. Quietly, repeatedly, patiently. The world may not notice at first, but that does not matter. The roots always grow before the tree is visible. And once you understand that silence protects your clarity, the next lesson becomes even sharper. Real transformation is built through systems, not announcements. Real transformation is built through systems, not announcements. Anyone can say, "I am changing." Anyone can talk about discipline, focus, ambition, and growth. But the mind is not rewired by public declarations. It is rewired by repeated private action. You wake up at the same time. You train when no one is watching. You open the book. You sit with the project. You resist the scroll. You keep the promise you made to yourself when there is no audience to reward you. This is why silence protects transformation. In the beginning, growth is fragile. If you expose it too early, you may start seeking praise before the roots are strong. You may begin performing the identity instead of building it. But when you stay quiet, you leave your energy where it belongs, inside the work. You do not waste strength explaining the process. You use that strength to repeat the process. The world usually notices transformation only after it has already happened. People see the stronger body, the calmer mind, the sharper focus, the better results. But they did not see the small, unseen choices that made it possible. They did not see the mornings you wanted to quit, but continued anyway. They did not see the nights you chose discipline over impulse. They did not see the old version of you dying quietly through one better decision at a time. And this is where growth becomes uncomfortable. Real change does not only separate you from old habits, it also separates you from old versions of yourself, and sometimes from people who were comfortable with that old version. When your actions begin to shift, your environment may resist. Friends may question you. Family may misunderstand you. Co-workers may joke about your discipline, not always because they hate you, but because your change forces them to see what they have been avoiding in themselves. Can you keep going without needing everyone to understand? Can you remain silent when people misread your path? Can you keep building when no one claps? When no one praises your discipline? When no one sees how hard you are fighting to become someone better? This is where Stoic strength is tested. Not in the moment when everyone admires you, but in the quiet season when your only witness is your own conscience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That is the heart of this lesson. Do not argue about the person you are becoming. Become that person. Do not spend your life defending your standards to people who are not living by them. Live the standard. Let the consistency speak. Let the results speak. Let your presence become the evidence. Look at anything powerful, and you will see the same pattern. A lion does not announce its strength before it moves. A surgeon does not shout through an operation to prove focus. A master does not explain every gesture while working. Their power comes from full presence. Every movement is deliberate. Every action carries weight. Their silence is not absence. It is concentration. Your silence can become the same thing, not a mask, not a performance, not an attempt to seem mysterious. Real silence is a signal that your attention has been reclaimed. You are no longer spending your best energy trying to appear serious. You are using it to become serious. You are no longer asking the world to validate your discipline. You are building discipline so deeply that validation becomes unnecessary. The question is simple. Are you willing to become better, even if no one notices at first? Are you willing to keep working when the results are still invisible? Are you willing to let your old identity fall away without rushing to explain the new one? If the answer is yes, then silence will become your training ground. It will protect your focus, sharpen your identity, and give your transformation the time it needs to become real. So say less, repeat more, defend less, build more, announce less, execute more. The person you are becoming does not need to be advertised every day. He needs to be trained. And in the next part, we will go deeper into the real cost of distraction and how every unnecessary reaction drains the mental energy you need to build your future. Attention is not just focus. It is energy, real energy. And every day, you only have a limited amount of it. Every time you check your phone for no reason, open another tab, argue just to prove a point, or let a meaningless message pull you away from your work, you are spending the energy that was supposed to build your future. Most people do not lose their lives all at once. They lose them in fragments. A few minutes here, a useless argument there, a scroll that becomes an hour, a headline that ruins your peace, a comparison that stays in your mind long after the screen is off. By the end of the day, you feel exhausted, but not because you created anything meaningful. You feel exhausted because your attention was pulled in too many directions, like a man trying to walk forward while 1,000 hands keep dragging him sideways. The Stoic understands that attention must be guarded. Marcus Aurelius did not waste his mind on every opinion, every rumor, every insult, or every distraction around him. He knew that a scattered mind cannot live with purpose. If you give your best attention to noise, you will have only leftovers for your discipline, your relationships, your work, and your own soul. And a life built from leftovers will always feel weaker than it should. This is why silence is an act of power. When you choose silence in a moment of temptation, you are not avoiding life. You are choosing clarity. You are giving your mind space to return to reason instead of stress. The pause before replying, the pause before defending yourself, the pause before opening the app again. These moments look small, but they are where self-mastery begins. Control is not about overpowering others. It is about governing yourself. It is the ability to say, I do not need to react to this. I do not need to explain myself here. I do not need to spend my best energy proving a point to someone committed to misunderstanding me. That kind of restraint is not weakness. It is command. It is the moment the higher part of you takes authority over the impulsive part. Silence also brings hidden things to the surface. Carl Jung said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. In silence, the thoughts you have buried begin to rise. The old fear, the old wound, the old story that says you are not enough, that you must prove yourself, that you must be seen to be valuable. Noise keeps those things hidden. Silence reveals them. And that is why silence can feel uncomfortable. It forces you to face what distraction has been helping you avoid. But if you can stay with that discomfort a little longer, something changes. You stop running from yourself. You begin to question the patterns that have been controlling you. You start to realize that not every urge deserves obedience. Not every emotion needs expression. And not every thought is truth. This is emotional fortitude. It is built when you resist the urge to reply impulsively. It is built when you refuse to defend your ego just because it feels threatened. It is built when you let the craving for approval pass without feeding it. Every time you choose purpose over performance, you are rewiring your mind. You are teaching yourself that silence is not emptiness. It is discipline. Socrates said that the greatest way to live with honor is to be what we pretend to be. That means your life cannot only be words. If you say you want peace, but keep choosing drama, your mind knows the truth. If you say you want focus, but keep giving yourself to distraction, your mind knows the truth. If you say you want growth, but run from every uncomfortable silence, your mind knows the truth. Integrity begins when your actions stop contradicting your identity. This process is not easy. Some days you will feel focused, and other days you will fall back into old habits. Some days silence will feel peaceful, and other days it will feel like a battlefield. That does not mean you are failing. It means the old version of you is losing power slowly. The space between impulse and action is growing. The need to be seen is weakening. The hunger for approval is fading. What replaces it is quiet confidence. Not the loud kind that needs attention, but the deeper kind that comes from self-respect. You begin to know what you are building. You begin to know why your attention matters. You stop needing every person to understand your path. You stop explaining your silence to people who have never protected their own. So today, protect your attention like something sacred. Choose silence before reaction. Choose focus before distraction. Choose self-respect before approval. The life you want will require energy, and that energy cannot be wasted on every noise that asks for it. In the next part, we will go deeper into how your identity is built, not by what you claim, but by what you repeatedly do when no one is watching. Your identity is not built by what you announce. It is built by what you repeat. You can say, I am focused. But if your days are ruled by distraction, your mind knows the truth. You can say, I am disciplined. But if every impulse becomes an order, Your body knows the truth. You can say, I am changing, but if your actions remain the same, the words become noise. Stoicism cuts through illusion because it asks for evidence, not performance. This is why silent consistency is so powerful. When your behavior matches your values day after day, your inner world begins to stabilize. You stop needing people to tell you that you are doing well, because you can see the proof in your own actions. You finished the work you said you would finish. You resisted the distraction you usually obey. You trained when no one watched. You kept one small promise to yourself. These private victories begin to rebuild self-respect. The world teaches people to chase visibility, but mastery grows in quiet repetition. You do not become strong because people praise your intention. You become strong because you keep moving when praise is absent. You do not become focused because you post about focus. You become focused because you protect your attention when distraction calls your name. You do not become disciplined by waiting for motivation. You become disciplined by acting even when motivation is weak. This is where real motivation begins to change. Most people think motivation comes from applause, encouragement, or excitement. But that kind of motivation fades quickly. It depends on mood, attention, and external reward. Deeper motivation comes from progress. It comes from watching yourself improve. It comes from knowing you did the difficult thing when the easy thing was available. Every quiet win tells your mind, I can trust myself. That trust is rare. Many people do not trust themselves because they have broken too many private promises. They said they would wake up early, but they did not. They said they would stop scrolling, but they returned to the same habit. They said they would work on the project, train the body, read the book, avoid the argument, protect the peace, and then they abandoned the promise when comfort asked nicely. Over time, this creates an invisible wound. You stop believing your own word, but the wound can be healed the same way it was created, through repetition. Keep one promise today, then another tomorrow. Do not start with a dramatic life change. Start with something small enough to keep and meaningful enough to matter. Wake up at the time you choose. Read 10 pages. Walk for 20 minutes. Work for 1 focused hour. Say no to 1 distraction. Each act may look small, but the message is powerful. I am becoming someone who does what he says. This is the Stoic way. Marcus Aurelius did not tell himself to become good by talking about goodness. He reminded himself to stop arguing about what a good man should be and simply be one. That is the standard. Less explanation, more embodiment, less performance, more practice, less seeking approval, more loyalty to your own principles. When your identity is built on repeated action, criticism loses some of its power. Not because it never hurts, but because your sense of self is no longer floating outside you. You know what you did today. You know where you showed restraint. You know where you improved. You know what you are building in silence. People may misunderstand your process, but they cannot erase the private evidence you have created inside yourself. This is how quiet confidence is formed. It is not loud. It does not need to dominate a room. It does not need to make everyone aware of its effort. It simply stands on the foundation of kept promises. A person with quiet confidence does not ask the world every day, am I becoming enough? He already knows the answer because his habits are speaking. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if your actions finally matched your values? What would happen if you stopped declaring your transformation and started proving it to yourself in silence? What would change if your reward was no longer applause, but alignment? The peace you are looking for may not come from being seen. It may come from finally respecting the person you are when no one is watching. Protect that process. Do not explain it too early. Do not trade it for praise. Do not let the need to be seen steal the energy required to become. Build quietly. Repeat patiently. Let your discipline become your identity before it becomes your reputation. And in the next part, we will go deeper into why systems matter more than goals and why rhythm is stronger than motivation. Real transformation is not a single breakthrough. It is not one dramatic morning where everything suddenly changes. It is not a burst of motivation, a perfect plan, or a goal you write down when you feel inspired. Real transformation is a system. It is daily. It is repetitive. It is often boring. But that is exactly why it works. Because the person you become is not shaped by what you feel once. He is shaped by what you repeat. Goals are useful, but they are not enough. A goal gives direction, but a system gives structure. You may say, I want to become stronger, but if there is no time in your day for training, the goal remains a wish. You may say, I want to become focused, but if your phone owns your morning, your focus has no foundation. You may say, I want a better life, but if your habits remain loyal to the old life, nothing real changes. This is why rhythm is stronger than motivation. Motivation rises and falls. Some days you feel powerful, and some days you feel empty. Some mornings you wake up ready to work, and some mornings your mind looks for excuses before your feet touch the floor. If your life depends on motivation, your discipline will be unstable. But rhythm does not ask how you feel. Rhythm says, this is what we do. You wake up, you train, you read, you work, you return to the path. The Stoic does not wait for the perfect mood before acting. He understands that action often creates the state of mind he was waiting for. You do not become disciplined by feeling disciplined first. You become disciplined by acting with discipline while resistance is still present. You do not become focused because the mind suddenly becomes quiet. You become focused by removing noise, protecting your time, and returning to the task again and again. This is why structure is not a prison. For the undisciplined person, structure feels restrictive. For the Stoic, structure is freedom. It protects you from the chaos of mood. It saves you from negotiating with yourself every day. If the time is set, the action is clear. If the system is built, the mind does not need to waste energy deciding whether to begin. You simply begin, because beginning is part of who you are becoming, and it starts with the body. The Stoics understood that physical discipline trains mental discipline. When you move your body, you are not only improving health, you are reshaping your relationship with effort. You are teaching yourself to stay with discomfort. You are proving that impulse does not rule you. A workout is not just a workout. A walk is not just a walk. A cold shower is not just cold water. Each one says to the mind, I can do what is difficult when it serves who I am becoming. The beginning will feel hard. Silence will feel unnatural. Routine will feel heavy. You will want to announce your progress, explain your discipline, and receive proof that others see your effort. But that is the trap. If you need applause every time you keep a promise, your discipline is still dependent on the outside world. The deeper path is quieter. You do the work because it is yours to do. You keep the promise because you respect yourself. You build the system because your future needs more than your feelings. Carl Jung said that your vision becomes clear only when you look into your own heart. Silence helps you do that. When you remove the distractions, the performance, the constant need to be seen, you are left with yourself. At first, that may feel uncomfortable, but if you remain there, the discomfort becomes clarity. You begin to see which habits are honest and which habits are only escape. You begin to see what kind of person your routine is creating. Over time, the urgency fades. The fear of being unseen weakens. The need to prove yourself becomes smaller. And what remains is presence. Steady, focused, deliberate presence. You stop explaining yourself to people who never tried to understand your path. You stop asking for permission to become disciplined. You simply walk the path because it is yours. Socrates taught that real change comes from building the new, not endlessly fighting the old. That is what systems do. They give your energy somewhere to go. Instead of spending every day battling who you used to be, you begin feeding who you are becoming. You replace the scroll with study. You replace impulse with movement. You replace scattered effort with rhythm. You replace noise with silence. Slowly, the old identity loses power because the new one is being practiced. Eventually, quiet consistency becomes impossible to ignore. But by then, recognition will not matter the way it once did. The peace you feel, the strength you carry, the clarity you protect, that becomes the reward. You no longer need applause to know you are on the right path. You know because your days are aligned. Your actions match your values. Your system is shaping you into someone you respect. So do not only set goals, build systems. Do not rely on motivation. Create rhythm. Do not wait until you feel ready. Begin with one repeated action that proves who you are becoming. And in the next part, we will bring this deeper. How silence, consistency, and self-respect create the kind of presence that the world eventually cannot ignore. When silence, consistency, and self-respect begin to work together, your presence changes. Not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because you are no longer divided inside. You are not saying one thing and living another. You are not chasing visibility while neglecting mastery. You are not begging the world to notice effort that you have not yet fully built. Your actions and your identity start to match, and that creates a quiet kind of power. People often feel this before they can explain it. Someone who has done real inner work does not need to dominate the room. They do not need to speak over everyone, prove every point, or advertise every discipline. Their energy feels different because it is not scattered. They are present. They are steady. They are not performing confidence. They are carrying the evidence of repeated private victories. This is what the Stoics would call character. Not an image, not a mood, not a speech about who you want to become. Character is what remains when no one is watching. It is the standard you keep when there is no applause. It is the restraint you practice when no one would blame you for reacting. It is the work you do before anyone sees the result. And the more you build character in silence, the less you need the world to confirm who you are. There is a deep freedom in that. You stop needing to explain why you are changing. You stop asking people to understand a path they have never walked. You stop giving your best attention to those who only want to question what they are and not willing to build themselves. This does not make you arrogant. It makes you focused. You can still be kind, open, and humble, but you no longer trade your direction for approval. The strongest version of you will not be created by noise. It will be created by rhythm. Wake up, do the work, protect your attention, train your body, build the skill, return to the project. Say no when you must. Stay silent when reaction would only waste energy. Repeat the small disciplines until they become your nature. This is not glamorous, but it is how real power is formed. And the strange thing is, when you stop chasing recognition, your work often becomes stronger. Your mind is no longer split between doing the thing and being seen doing the thing. You are fully inside the process. You are no longer asking, will they notice? You are asking, is this aligned with who I am becoming? That question brings your life back under your command. Plato said that the first and best victory is to conquer the self. That victory is not won in public performance. It is won in the quiet moments when your old impulses ask for control and you refuse to obey them. It is won when you keep going without praise. It is won when you choose the system over the mood, the discipline over the impulse, the path over the applause. Eventually, the results will speak. Maybe not immediately, maybe not when your ego wants them to, but if your actions remain consistent, your life cannot stay the same. The body changes, the mind sharpens, the work improves, the energy becomes cleaner. The people around you may not understand the process, but they will eventually feel the difference. And by then, you will no longer need their applause to know that something real has happened. That is the reward of silent transformation, not fame, not attention, not the empty pleasure of being praised before you have earned anything. The reward is peace. The reward is clarity. The reward is the private knowledge that you are finally living in alignment with your own values. And no one can take that from you, because it was not given by the world. It was built by you. So keep building quietly. Keep protecting the work before it is strong enough to stand on its own. Keep choosing silence when noise would only weaken your focus. Keep showing up when no one claps. This is where the person you are becoming is forged. And in the final part, we will bring this lesson to its conclusion. Silence is not weakness. It is where real strength begins. Silence is not weakness. It is where real strength begins. It is in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, that you decide whether you are truly becoming someone new or only talking about change. Anyone can announce a goal. Anyone can explain a dream. Anyone can post a promise, but the person who actually transforms is the one who keeps showing up after the noise fades, after the attention disappears, after there is no one left to impress. The world may not notice your early mornings. It may not see the choices you make when distraction calls you back. It may not clap when you choose the book instead of the scroll, the workout instead of the excuse, the difficult task instead of the comfortable delay. But your mind notices, your body notices, your self-respect notices, and every private act of discipline becomes one more brick in the person you are building. This is why silence is so powerful. It protects the process before the process becomes visible. It keeps your energy from leaking into explanation, performance, and approval seeking. It gives you space to think, to correct yourself, to build systems, to sharpen your habits, and to become aligned with your own values. Silence does not mean you have nothing to say. It means you are choosing to let your life speak louder than your words. Marcus Aurelius taught that there is no need to waste time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. That is the Stoic path. Do not argue about discipline. Practice it. Do not defend your standards to people who do not live by them. Embody them. Do not beg to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Keep walking with clarity. If your direction is honest, your consistency will eventually explain what your words never could. The results will come when they are ready, but the deeper reward arrives earlier. The reward is the peace of knowing you kept your word. The reward is the strength of seeing yourself choose focus over distraction. The reward is the quiet confidence that comes when your identity is no longer built on applause, but on alignment. You stop needing the world to validate every step because your own conscience knows the truth. So keep building in silence. Keep protecting your attention. Keep choosing systems over moods, discipline over performance, self-respect over validation. Let the world underestimate the quiet version of you if it wants to. Let people wonder what changed. Let them notice only after the roots have already gone deep. Your job is not to be seen at every step. Your job is to become undeniable through repetition. Transformation is not loud. It is steady. It is rooted. It is deliberate. It is built in the small decisions no one celebrates, until one day, the life you are living becomes proof of the person you chose to become. So, say less, do more, stay focused, stay patient, stay silent. When silence protects your growth, and when the time is right, let the results speak. If this reflection helped you, subscribe for more Stoic wisdom inspired by Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. And leave this in the comments as a promise to yourself. I build in silence, and my life will speak.